So you want to set up your own home recording studio, but you're confused about what you really need and how it all fits together. Let me help you with that. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. I'm very blessed to have a nice home studio that I really enjoy, but the truth is much of this equipment falls into the nice to have category rather than the must have category. So I got to thinking, what would I recommend to someone just starting out who is limited by space and budget? So I came up with this. An affordable beginner's home studio with everything you need to make professional quality recordings. But to be quite honest with you, not even everything here is absolutely required. So I've divided this video into 3 different categories. 1, absolutely must have gear. 2, really should have gear. And 3, your life may be a little miserable without it gear. Now the good news is the absolutely must have gear is probably something you already have. So let's start with that. So you're probably watching this video on one of these 3 types of devices: a phone, a tablet, or a computer of some kind. Now the good news is that any of these 3 devices can be used to record music. Yes, even your humble smartphone and tablet, if they're reasonably recent models, have enough processing power for multi-track audio recording. And you'll also be able to connect up all of the devices that we're going to mention in the rest of this video. Now, in terms of iOS, you may want to check out the free GarageBand. Although this is a really simple app, it really can be used to produce whole songs. In fact, my mate Pete Johns has got a whole channel dedicated to the subject, and I'll put a link for that in the description down below. Now, in terms of both Android and iOS, I highly recommend Steinberg's Cubase 3. This is a really mature app which can be used for recording, mixing and mastering songs ready for release. Now, in terms of the downside for these types of devices, well, they are rather limited in terms of storage, so you can't hold really large instrument libraries in them, and that may well be something that you want to do. Some people also find them a little bit cumbersome in terms of their size and would rather use a computer with its keyboard, mouse and extra storage. So a laptop or desktop computer is often at the center of a modern home recording studio. And the good news is you can probably use the machine you already have. Let's take, for example, this MacBook Pro. This is a 2012 model. It's an i5 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And you can actually pick these up relatively cheaply on eBay and those kinds of places. Not only that, but you can also install Windows on it as well if you want to use it as a Windows computer. Now, if you want to get a dedicated Windows computer, the main thing I'd say is try to get at least an i5 processor and a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM. You'll see some cheaper ones out there with only 4 gigabytes of RAM, and that can make home recording pretty painful pretty quickly. So the type of software we use to record music is called a digital audio workstation, or DAW. Now, if it's free that you want and you're using a Mac, then again, I'd recommend to try out the free GarageBand application. A little word of warning, this is really quite straightforward and easy to use, but it sacrifices just a little in terms of actual features compared to some of the more fully fleshed out DAWs. Now, if you're using the PC and you want something free, then it's a no-brainer. I definitely go for Cakewalk by BandLab. This has been around for decades. It's highly mature and you can definitely use it to record whole songs and release them to the world. In fact, I made a whole series about that called Record, Mix and Release. Check the link for that out in the description down below. So in terms of paid software, there's a lot of choice out there, including the industry standard Pro Tools, also Cubase, Logic Pro and FL Studio, to name but a few. But my absolute favorite in terms of both Mac and PC is Studio One 5 Professional from Presonus. Now, this is an awesome piece of software in my opinion, with great workflow and some really fantastic mastering features. Now, you can buy it outright or you can get it on subscription with their Presonus Sphere subscription plan. I think it costs as little as $15 per month to get that. So check out the link for that in the description down below. So that's all you absolutely have to record music in a home studio, either some mobile devices or a computer of some kind and the correct software. But is it really enough to record commercial music for release? Well, yes and no. Yes, if you're purely going to record electronic music, you may just about get away with only using these devices. But if you're like most of us and you want to record some audio like vocals or other instruments, or you want to have some fairly complex tracks with a lot of effects and things, these devices by themselves are going to fall up short. Their audio systems are really not made to handle really complex audio recording on a multi-track basis. For that, you're going to need some other equipment. So if you want to record vocals or acoustic instruments, you're going to need a microphone. And so that the microphone doesn't pick up the backing track, you'll need to be using headphones. And you're going to want to plug both of these into your computer using something called an audio interface. Now I'm going to recommend something to you which includes all of these items together. That's the EVO Start Recording Bundle. Let's start off by taking a look at the microphone. There are many different types of microphones, so rather than confuse you with the many choices, I'm simply going to recommend to you that you start off with a large diaphragm condenser microphone. Condenser microphones like the SR1 included with this bundle are excellent for recording vocals and other instruments as well, including acoustic guitars. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in order to avoid the microphone picking up your backing track, you're going to need to use headphones. Specifically, you're going to need to use enclosed headphones like the SR2000s included with this bundle. By the way, if you're finding this video useful, go ahead and hit the like button for me. Do it right away so that you don't forget. Now, once you've got all of this gear and software, you're going to want to know how to use it. So go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so that you're notified about my other videos where I do cover all of these topics. Now, back to the gear that you really should have. At the heart of this bundle is the EVO audio interface. Not only will you use it to connect microphones, instruments and headphones to your computer or mobile device, but it'll also handle the rather hardcore audio processing that you're going to be doing. The two connections at the front will either accept XLR connectors for microphones or 1/4-inch jacks for things like electric guitars or synthesizers. You can use them separately or you can use them both together to make stereo recordings. It also supplies the 48 volts of phantom power required for most condenser microphones. At the front you connect your headphones, and optionally at the back you can also connect studio monitors, which we'll discuss later. Now, I've been using the EVO 4 as a part of my setup for about the last year, and I'm very much impressed by it. I'm particularly impressed with the Smart Gain feature, which is aimed at beginners and helps you to get a really healthy recording level every single time. Check out my full review of the EVO 4 up above, or find the link in the description down below. So I can highly recommend the EVO 4 Start Recording Bundle as part of the really should have gear. Everything on your shopping list so far is really required for most music production. What I'm about to talk about is optional in theory, but in reality, you're going to wish you had it pretty soon. Let's start off by talking about a controller keyboard. Now, all of the software I've recommended to you comes with virtual instruments, things like drums, bass, piano, the list goes on. Now, you can control it using your computer's mouse and keyboard, but that gets pretty tiresome within about 4.5 minutes or so. So do your mental health a favor and get yourself a MIDI controller keyboard. Now, I'm recommending the Arturia KeyStep 37, a great little high quality keyboard that easily plugs into your computer or mobile device, and you can use it to control these virtual instruments. Now, I'm a bit of a fan of Arturia gear, so I've already done a full review on this keyboard. Check the link out in the description for that. So you're probably used to listening to music with hi-fi speakers, and it's quite a different experience to using headphones. With headphones, you get a different stereo image and you don't get the sound bouncing off of the walls in the room. The problem with most hi-fi speakers is that they are coloured, meaning some parts of the sound are hyped so that they sound better for most people. That's a disadvantage in mixing, where you want a true reflection of the sound so that you can mix accordingly and it will translate or sound good on lots of different systems. So in the studio we use something called studio monitors. These are speakers which are normally powered and have what we call a flat response, giving you a much more true representation of the music so that you can make good choices in your mixing. Now some people say that they can use headphones for mixing, and if you can get a great result doing that, then I'm all for it. But for me personally, I do prefer to use studio monitors for mixing. The problem with studio monitors is they get pretty expensive pretty quickly. So I'm going to recommend to you some entry-level studio monitors, the JBL 104 BTs. Now these are a compact design, but don't be fooled by that. They actually do pack quite a punch. They connect to your audio interface using 1/4 inch jacks, so you get a great quality signal. And as an extra bonus, you can actually use them as Bluetooth speakers for your regular music listening. Now, these are not the highest quality studio monitors, but I do think that they're definitely an improvement over using hi-fi speakers. So there you have it, my guide to everything you need to get started with your first home studio. All you need now is the music. Now, if you think there's some alternatives that I've missed, or you're still confused about what you really need, let me know in the comments down below. Check the description down below for some great prices on all of the gear that I've mentioned in this video. And while you're there, check out my link to patreon.com, where for as little as $1 per month, you can help me help you by making more videos like this. And I'll see you in the next video.